Hello and welcome to another episode of The Art of Kicking Ass Elegantly TV, which is all about learning to kick ass elegantly in business, in fitness, in love and in life. I do believe we can have it all in all of those areas so long as we have the right plan and the right support. I'm your host, Michelle Hext. Today I want to have a chat with you about your number one responsibility as a coach. So what's your number one responsibility? Well, I honestly believe that your number one responsibility is to fill your mind with the good stuff and continue to learn so that you're growing and expanding as a coach and as a woman so that you can pass that on to your clients. When I'm deep in learning, and I'm always learning something, whether I'm listening to podcasts or doing online programs or reading books or pulling out old programs that I've purchased once before, I'm always learning, and the times that I feel most alive and most present and most switched on as a coach are when I'm knee deep in learning. And the reason for that is because we're expanding when we're learning and we're growing, and that's what we expect of our clients, and it's what we need to do for ourselves as well. So if it's been a long time since you've read a book or listened to a podcast or completed any sort of program, then now's probably the time to go out and do it. I can remember in my Taekwondo career as a coach, I had my black belt in 2 years. I trained, my instructor pumped a whole lot of energy into me while I got ready to grade for my first degree black belt. I was training with the state squad, I was training with the black belts, even though I wasn't even black belt yet with our head instructor. I was training 7 days a week and I had so much good stuff going in. And then I was, teaching was wonderful and it felt so easy for me to do that during that stage. And then I got my black belt, and then there's a couple of years wait in between your first degree and your second degree black belt. And behind me, there was a whole bunch of other black belt students coming up through the ranks, or soon to be black belt students. So my instructor's intention went straight, went straight there. And so I was left to my own devices for quite a long time. And what I found was that I became pretty stagnant in my teaching because I wasn't being filled up with stuff. And so I took it upon myself to go and learn. I wasn't ready to go and learn another martial art, and I didn't want to go and train with anybody else. But I knew I needed to learn. So I learned more on the philosophy. I learned more about the history. I learned more about some of the techniques. I wanted to know where they came from and how they became to be applied and that sort of stuff. And then I wanted to know more about my head instructor and his history, and then our style of Taekwondo and that history. And then I had so much more to teach, and I was such a good, a much better coach for it. So if you're feeling stuck and you feel like you've got nothing to give, it's probably because you're giving so much, you're pushing so much out, and you're not actually taking anything in yourself. So just remember that your number one responsibility as a coach is to continue to learn. Just like martial arts students, their number one responsibility is always to be a student, to always continue to learn. When we're always open to learn and we continue to do that, we continue to expand and to grow. There is always something to learn. I don't care how good you are, there is always something to be learned. Look outside the box, look outside your industry, look outside your training style, look outside what it is you do to take care of yourself physically. There is always something new to learn. It doesn't always mean you're going to apply it. You might learn something and think, that's not for me, but then you've become educated on that. So there is never any time wasted in learning. The more we learn, as I say, the more we expand and grow. It should be an ongoing process, and it should be something that excites you. Off the back of my last video where I spoke about I had 3 days away from social media, that gave me so much more time to dig into some old programs that I had that I never really gave my full attention back in the day because, I was flicking through it trying to get to the end as fast as I could. And because I had 3 full days, I took my time, and some of the audios on this program were 90 minutes long. If you can get me to sit still for 20 minutes at a time, you're doing pretty well. But I did. I sat there for 90 minutes. I didn't open Facebook while I did it, which is normally what I would be doing. I'd be learning and on social media at the same time, or learning and sending out emails, and I just stayed present, stayed in the moment, and it was a really different experience. I've taken this stuff on and feel as though I actually learned it this time. and I feel expanded and I feel as though I've grown. And it's always the way when I'm learning. So do yourself a favour if you I sound like Molly. Do yourself a favour if you haven't learned something in a little while, even start with a podcast. You know, I used to avoid them. Because I like to sing in the car, and on my walks I usually like just no noise. And when I'm running or working out, I usually like to have something that's going to rev me up. But I've made a conscious decision that I'm going to, not in the car because I still want to sing, but you know, when I'm at the gym and when I'm going for my walks, I've always got a podcast going, and it's a great way to just get stuff to sink in. And while you're moving and the blood's pumping, you know, you're absorbing so much more. You know, I've read books and then listened to the podcast and remember thinking, I don't remember that even being in the book, because I hadn't absorbed it the way that I was through just listening. Anyway, go and learn something. If you've got old programs or anything there, drag them out and, you know, commit to getting some learning done on that. If you want something new, my Kick-Ass Academy online is available, and I've also got my visibility challenge coming up, and you'll have to learn a whole lot there because I'm going to stretch and challenge you to be more visible, and that's going to be learning new platforms potentially. Anyway, have an awesome day, and I'll be in touch again tomorrow.